Juan Pujol Garcia was born on February 28, 1912. He had always been a very wild boy, constantly covered in bandages after running into everything in sight. Pujol then was captured and imprisoned by police during the Spanish Revolution. After he experienced the struggles of segregated groups all around the world, he decided he could no longer sit around, but must somehow make a difference and help the right cause. He would do anything, risk his life, to make a good impact.
After a rejection from the British embassy, Paul and his wife needed a new plan. They decided to pretend to work for the German embassy and use the information they received to become a double agent for the British. He met with a man named Federico and was soon sent off to Lisbon with his wife and child. Pujol received rejection after rejection from the British and began to lose hope. It was not until his wife charged into the British embassy, however, and demanded to speak to someone with importance that Pujol became noticed. Bristow, a man working for the intelligence service, was confused as to why Pujol was clearly sending inaccurate information and searched rapidly and urgently for the answer.
In Bristow's eyes, Pujol was either telling the truth or a German triple agent trying to infiltrate the Allied war machine and destroy it from the inside. Finally, after days of interrogation, however, he was accepted into the M15. Tommy Harris, a brilliant half-Jewish M15 agent, and Juan Pujol, known as Agent Garbo, worked very well together with Tommy's strategic brilliance and Garbo's cunning sense of style. They worked together day and night, perfecting the Garbo network consisting of 27 sub-agents. Also, Garbo's connections gave the M15 a way to see into the Germans' minds. This reverse telescope method showed what Hitler and the Abwehr were thinking. Stalin, needing to relieve his troops who were dying, asked the Allies for help. To keep the Germans away from those crucial battles, the Abwehr needed to think that D-Day was not only possible in 1943, but imminent. Therefore, Garbo came up with an elaborate, feint invasion called Cockade. Garbo did everything in his power to convince the Germans that the invasion was real. Le Portel was attacked, but when the ships departed towards France and the Allied fighters pointed towards the beach of Calais, there was no counterattack. Hitler was so unimpressed with Cockade, he removed 27 of the 36 troops stationed in Western Europe and sent them to fight in Russia. Cockade was a failed attempt at a feint invasion and a downright disaster.
The plan for D-Day, created by David Strangeways, was to convince the Germans that the initial attack at Normandy was a feint, and a second, much larger invasion would happen at Calais. To make the second attack seem real, Garbo and the other double agents needed to convince the Abwehr that an army of 1 million, named Fusag, existed and would be invading Calais after Normandy. The Allies were moving heaven and earth to make the Fusag army seem real. They did everything in their power to make this army exist in the eye of the Nazis.
All of the ingenious plots making the Fusag army look real was just one part of the master plan. Garbo and the other agents did everything they could to make sure the first attack in Normandy seemed fake, but the Germans were skeptical. The majority leaned toward the major invasion being in Calais, but as Tommy Harris had predicted, there was a split in the German high command regarding what to believe.
As the final days counted down to D-Day, more and more setbacks began to occur. One of his agents saw convoys leaving the River Clyde for North Africa, and he later claimed that he had found the target, France. But there was one problem. His subagent number 2 would be in the position to see the departure of the real invasion, and suddenly moving him would seem suspicious. The only thing to do was for him to disappear. Garbo told the Abwehr that he had been moved to the hospital for the foreseeable future because his medical condition wouldn't let him work. Not only did his job become more stressful, but so did his social life. His marriage with Araceli was falling apart because he was constantly wrapped up in his work. After getting into a big fight, she threatened to leak his double agent secret to the German embassy. Garbo, however, knew how to play his wife and convinced her otherwise, but there were other bumps in the road. One man threatened to ruin not only the Garbo network, but the entire operation. Jebsen and Popov, 2 men who had been close for years, separated when they came to London. Popov became a faithful double agent, but Jebsen was never completely loyal. When he was arrested and taken into a camp, the Nazis tortured him, but he never spilled his secret regarding Garbo and the master plan. The N-15 found a way around all the setbacks and continued to prepare for D-Day. All of the men and equipment were moved through the air in a machine that sputtered out random noises set to mimic the traffic of 6 radios, convinced the Germans that the troops were in Anglia, when in reality they were 100 miles away. On June 6th, 200,000 vehicles strapped onto transports, 6,483 ships, and 120,000 men, the first wave of 2 million, headed down the English Channel on their way to the beaches of Normandy. During the invasion, the only conclusion Germany could draw was that this first attack had to be a feint. It was not until June 9th that Hitler finally agreed to send the 1st, 2nd, and 21st Panzer Divisions to Normandy, but they were too late. The Allied troops were already moving towards Paris on their way to save the Western world from the cruel grip of the inhumane Nazis. 2 weeks after the Normandy invasion, 22 Calais divisions stood at alert, ready to attack the invaders that would never come. Garbo was not only a mastermind spy, but a man who would save the world.